Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to yet another gaming video in this streak of PS5 content I'm currently going to be doing. And in this particular case, I'm going to be doing my very first PS5 game review, and I'm going to be reviewing Spider-Man Remastered, which is the new Spider-Man game which came alongside the Ultimate Edition of Miles Morales on PS5. So when I pre-ordered my PS5, I was looking upon the launch titles and I was thinking to myself, which one am I going to buy first? And to me it was pretty obvious, it was Miles Morales. Like, that was going to be my main first launch title because that was a game I was already incredibly excited about, and knowing that it was going to be there on the launch, I thought, well, that's got to be my first game. I love Spider-Man PS4 and I was like, I'm super hyped for Spider-Man Miles Morales, like, it's going to be great. Now, when they announced the Ultimate Edition of Miles Morales that was going to be including a remaster of Spider-Man, which would include all the DLC and things like that, that's when my opinion changed a little bit, and I said to myself, okay, maybe Miles isn't going to be my first, it's actually going to be Spider-Man Remastered. Because even though I have played Spider-Man before, I played it on PS4, I really wanted to actually play through it again, not only because I was going to be playing Miles, but also because I wanted to go and play the DLC of Spider-Man, The City That Never Sleeps, because I never played that on PS4 and I wanted to actually experience that just in case there was any other loose threads that were going to tie into Miles. I didn't want to miss out on that, so I wanted to go through and play through the game again and just truly experience the game again, really get into it, because when I played Spider-Man, I wasn't as into gaming as I am now, and I don't really feel like I was able to appreciate Spider-Man in the same way as I do now. So I really wanted to replay it again, really settle into it, and also just make sure I had everything I needed to know in my head about Miles before diving in. So that's why I chose Spider-Man Remastered as my first PS5 game. So this review isn't going to be mainly about Spider-Man itself, because the game came out years ago, everyone knows how great the game is, but I will say up front, you know, as I said, I have like a newfound appreciation for the game. I really enjoyed it the first time I played it, don't get me wrong, but I didn't really feel like I appreciated it in the same way that I do now. I feel like Spider-Man PS4, or in this case Spider-Man Remastered, is just an incredible superhero game. I mean, I love superheroes, I love superhero movies, so anytime there's a new superhero game, it does capture my attention. You know, I love the Batman Arkham series, that is one of my favourite video game series of all time. Batman Arkham City is definitely one of my favourite games of all time. So when they announced a new Spider-Man game was coming out from Insomniac, I was like, okay, cool, I'm excited for that. And, you know, playing through the game now, it's phenomenal. It's absolutely incredible. Like, the gameplay is absolutely solid, even though I'm not a huge lover of the combat in the game, and that might be just because I'm not very good at it, but I don't think the combat is incredible, and same with the stealth mechanics. I do feel like the stealth can be a bit dodgy. Other than the combat, I think that the game's gameplay is absolutely phenomenal, especially the web slinging is the best it's ever been in any Spider-Man game. Like, I know a lot of people talk about Spider-Man 2 on the PS2, I can't comment on that, I've not played that game, but for me, like, the best web slinging we've ever had before this was actually the video game for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. That was actually really solid web slinging. The game itself was fine, but the web slinging was great. But the web slinging we have in Spider-Man PS4 is just on another level. It's so entertaining, it's so visceral, it's so fun, and you can never get bored of it. Like, it's never not entertaining to swing around New York as Spider-Man, you know? And the actual story of the game is one of the best Spider-Man stories that I've experienced. Again, I'm mainly more of a movie fan than a comic fan, but I just loved this story. You know, it's basically like a mini Sinister Six story, and on top of that, you also have stuff with Mr. Negative, who was such a different villain. We've never seen Mr. Negative in, you know, Spider-Man media before. You know, especially anything in any large capacity, like in the movies or anything like that. We've never seen Mr. Negative, so it was a really interesting choice. And on top of that, you also have, obviously, Doc Ock and stuff like that, who becomes a big prevalent villain towards the end. And then we do have the Sinister Six in play as well to kind of provide us with some fun boss fights, like Scorpion and Electro and Rhino, the Vulture. It just was like, it's all of Spider-Man's best characters were kind of on display in this game, and were all done with incredibly fun detail. You know, I think all the suits for the villains look incredible. It adds a lot more depth to the world, because unlike a lot of Spider-Man media, this was a Spider-Man who has been around for a while. Like, he's been operating for about 8 years as when the game takes place. So all these villains, all these Sinister Six characters already have history with Spider-Man. The only one who's new is Doc Ock, who obviously, even though it's Otto Octavius, Peter knows him, they have that connection, and you find out by the end of the game that obviously Otto knows that Peter was Spider-Man. And obviously we have Mr. Negative, who's also a pretty new villain, but even then Martin Lee, who is Mr. Negative, also knows Peter, so again there's a connection there. But all the other characters, like I say, the other ones who I just mentioned, like Rhino and Electro, they know Spider-Man and have fought him for years, so it's kind of like this interesting back and forth where they know each other quite well by this point, and I thought that was interesting. I like seeing that, because we've seen so many Spider-Man origin stories and stuff like that, and even though I really enjoy the MCU Spider-Man films, they're definitely my favourites, I really like how those films don't do the origin story, but here, this was taken to a whole nother level, because even though they don't really do the origin story in like Spider-Man Homecoming, for example, it's still Spider-Man when he's starting out. This is Spider-Man 8 years in, and I really like that because it just made it feel so different and so unique. And all the side characters are phenomenal. Like MJ is great in this game. Miles, who's obviously we'll talk about Miles in another video, but he's great in this game too. I love this version of Aunt May. This game and its story is so heart-wrenching and emotional. This game made me come to tears in the end. Like playing the remaster, I was tearing up, like actually crying by the end of this game. Not only because of the incredible death scene at the end with Aunt May, but also the conflict between Peter and Otto. Like, that really got to me. Like, him screaming in the final boss fight, like, "You are my hero, I looked up to you." That really got to me, and I just absolutely love all that stuff. You know, all the open world stuff. I know a lot of people complain about the open world stuff in this game, like all the open world activities, but for me personally, I quite enjoy them. And all the suits you can collect. I just think Spider-Man is such a great game, and like I say, I have a newfound appreciation for it. I didn't expect this section to go on as long as it did, but like I say, I've had this reinvigorated love for the game that I didn't really have the first time around, just because of where I was in my mindset with gaming at the time. But now, playing it on PS5, this remaster, in the mindset I am at now, I just absolutely adore this game, and it's honestly shot up to be one of my favourites of all time. But how is the game as a remaster? That's what this review is all about. How does this game compare to the original, and is it worth it to pay the extra $20 to get the Ultimate Edition of Miles Morales in order to play this game again? Well, like I said, for me, a big plus for this was obviously that it included all the DLC, which I've never played before. So if you've never played the DLC, obviously that's a big point there. And I'd never played the DLC before, and my thoughts on the DLC, it's fine. It's not incredible or anything like that. It's just more like fun Spidey work to do. It's kind of similar to the Harley Quinn's Revenge DLC that we got for Arkham City, where it was kind of just like not an incredible story or anything like that, but it was just kind of like a fun little Batman adventure. Similar thing here. I kind of see the City That Never Sleeps, you know, all 3 parts to kind of be just a fun Spidey story to keep you entertained in the meantime before Miles came out. You know, I kind of see it as that. But other than the DLC, in terms of what other stuff this remaster gives you, I mean, graphically, this game is an upgrade. It is a bigger upgrade on what we got on PS4. Particularly, the game is just way more shiny. Like, it's very bizarre. I mean, when you look back at Spider-Man PS4, we never noticed it at the time, because obviously we didn't have anything to compare it to, but when you look back at it now, Spider-Man PS4 almost has a haze over it, like, by comparison. You know, it almost has like this kind of white filter, like the color grading is kind of a little bit, tiny bit washed out, whereas here, it's just so bright and colourful and beautiful, and the game just looks stunning. Like I say, especially in the cutscenes, when you see, you know, all these wacky and wonderful characters of the Sinister Six in particular, like you see all their suits and stuff like that, with Spider-Man in his suit, and it just looks incredible, it looks stunning. And of course we do have the updated face model of Peter Parker, which I really wasn't going to talk about in this video because there's so much controversy surrounding it, but I'll just say, I think that the new face model they've got for Peter Parker in this game is fantastic. I think it looks so much better than the original, and I think in terms of its animation, it feels more natural, and I've just become so accustomed to this version of Peter Parker already after this one game, that I've honestly completely forgotten about the old one. Like, I think this new one is just miles better, and I think it just serves the character better. I think he looks better with it. I think he looks more like a Peter Parker than he does than the other one did. I just think that it's so much better of a face model. But everything in this game's been revamped. I mean, even Martin Lee has a new face model slightly as well, which looks really good. It's just, it all looks beautiful. And on top of that, the big sort of thing that's kind of, it's going into next gen in particular, you know, this new generation of consoles, this game does have ray tracing, and the ray tracing, I didn't expect it to have as big of an effect on me as it did. Like, it just looks, it adds so much to the world, like all these reflections and stuff. There are particular environments where, I mean, it really shines in Miles, and I'll talk about it in my Miles Morales review, but it really shines here too. Like, it just looks stunning. You're kind of walking around these environments, you know, and you just have these windows and glasses with just reflecting light, and it looks so realistic, it looks so beautiful, and adds so much more to the world than there was before. And to mix that with the new color graphics, it just adds so much. And I was so impressed with it, and it just made it a joy to swing around New York again and to play through this story again, because it all looked so new and so fresh. It didn't feel like I was replaying an old game. It felt like I was playing a new game, and that is what made this remaster so special. But is there much to it beyond that? Like I say, is there actually much of a reason for you to pay the extra money to get this game? Like I say, if you've never played Spider-Man before, then absolutely you need to buy the Ultimate Edition. Like, absolutely, you need to play that before you play Miles, and you need to play it anyway, because it's just an incredible game in its own right. But if you've already played Spider-Man, is it worth upgrading to the Ultimate Edition? I'd probably say no, given the fact that a lot of the benefits you get from Spider-Man PS4 you will experience in Miles Morales. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily a requirement that you buy this remaster, but if you have the money for it, if you love Spider-Man, if you want to play it again, I would definitely go for it. Like I say, I did it. You know, for my first PS5 game, I kind of wanted to splash out a little bit and celebrate, so I was like, screw it, I'll get the Ultimate Edition. So I did, and I honestly, I don't regret my decision. Like, I really enjoy playing the game again. Again, I have this new love for Spider-Man, and all the graphical enhancements that come with it, all the performance enhancements that come with it, it did honestly make the experience even better than it was previously. So I do think this is a very strong remaster. I think it's got a lot of great stuff in it. Again, not too much that's really going to convince someone who's played the game before to buy it again. But if you want to buy it again, I don't really see a problem with it. I think it's such a strong remaster. It's such a great game. And this is just a perfect, you know, excuse to go and play through the game again with some graphical enhancements where it's all looking nice and shiny. But anyway, there's just my thoughts on Spider-Man Remastered. What do you guys think about it? Make sure to let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. Do you think it's a good remaster, or do you think it's a bit of a waste of money? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments down below. Very interested to hear your thoughts. And as always, if you want to see more gaming content like this and PS5 content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads from me. And I hope to see you guys again next time.